one, I get it. Politics is a little bit compromised. Faced with empty promises, sprinkled with blatant lies. Why is the sacrifice always fall on the people's side? Surprise, not this time. I refuse to fall in line. Fall in line. You don't get my vote because I'm voting for Jill Stein. No more giving vote for the lesser up to evil. I'm going green and bring the power to the people. Power to the people. Power to the people. No more giving vote for the lesser up to evil. Power to the people. Power to the people. I'm going green and bring the power to the people.
Looks like, yes, ma'am. And you are what democracy sounds like. Yes. We need justice on the border. You are America, but you are America struggling at the front lines of the crisis of our economy, the crisis of immigration, the crisis of inadequate health care, the crisis of the climate and a shrinking water supply, and the crisis of corporations who are robbing us blind and exploiting our communities. And we say that is enough. Time to throw the bums out who are enabling this exploitation of our communities. We deserve education as a human right, and it's time to equitably fund all schools across each state and across the nation. It's time for the right to quality public education for every child. It's time to end the closing of our schools. The use of high-stakes testing has been to enable the shutdown of who? Poor schools. That's what the high-stakes test is all about. It's a test of your income level, essentially. It's time to end that high-stakes testing and return to a teaching to the whole student for lifetime learning. That means no more high-stakes tests. That means bring back art, bring back music, bring back recreation. That's what real education looks like. And while we're at it, moving on from K through 12, we deserve public higher education available for free for everyone. Free public higher education. We know that it pays for itself. There is no excuse not to be offering free college or community college or technical school. We know that for every dollar that we as taxpayers put into free college, that we as taxpayers get back $7 in return. For $1 in, we get back $7. We gotta start bringing back free public higher education. And while we're at it, by the way, we have an entire generation of young people who are locked into student loan debt. Well, if we bailed out the friggin' bankers who crashed the economy, it's time to bail out their victims.
Question is what is Jill Stein's plan to stop the Israeli expansion of Israeli settlements? And the reason I asked that is, well, I was pro-Bernie, and Bernie was very vocal on how he wanted to stop the Israeli expansion. And Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are obviously not in the favor of stopping the expansion, although there are several billions of dollars trailing into Israel. So I just wanted to get Jill Stein's clear plan for how she will go about stopping it.
And what did you think of her answer?
I thought it was a good answer. She said that we finally need to act as a nation instead of just saying that we plan to stop the human rights violations that are being done against the Palestinians and actually take action versus just saying, oh, we should really stop this, but there's still money going to this.
And did you start supporting her once Bernie was pretty much off the
Yeah, I've
ballot?
been looking into, well, since Bernie went out, I was kind of undecided, and I was looking into a lot of campaigns. But considering, all of this lesser evil talk, it is really true that, we're now voting for Hillary because we want her. We just don't want Donald Trump. And comparing the last two options of Gary Johnson and Jill Stein, I do see that she's the main.
It's not just the Israelis, the Saudis have their part in this too, the Egyptians. So we're saying we need a whole new foreign policy that says we will not be providing support in the form of money and certainly not in the form of arms to those countries that continue to systematically violate human rights and international law. And that includes the Israeli government. To do something about this, not just words. We need to actually do something.
Corporate structure of incarceration and the laws that push people into prison.
Because we didn't always have it like this, and in fact there were some laws that were passed by the Clintons, signed by Bill Clinton with the support of Hillary Clinton, that opened the floodgates to mass incarceration, particularly in communities of color, that helped create this incredible war on drugs, which has been a war on black and brown communities. So we need to reverse those laws. We need to end the use of private prisons. We need to end no more CCA, not only private prisons, but especially private incarceration and the militarized corrections. And what am I trying to say here? That putting immigrants into detention centers with CCA is absolutely unconscionable and needs to be ended immediately.
How exactly do you plan to stop this brutality
Great.
against people of color?
Great.
How do you plan to stop the racism that is infiltrating?
Wonderful. Okay, so the question is, how do we stop police brutality? And how do we address this underlying, police brutality is just the tip of the iceberg in a system of endemic and systemic racism in our economy, in our schools, in our housing, in our health and healthcare. It's really across the board. And let me say that the police racism is just the latest manifestation, because if you go back, when slavery was ended, then we got lynchings, then we got Jim Crow, then we got redlining, then we got this war on drugs, then we got mass incarceration, and then we got police violence. So it's been kind of an unending sequence that carries on. So first of all, to end the police violence, we really do call for citizen review boards, not just to give their opinion that can be ignored, but that actually has the power of subpoena and that works together with independent investigators. Because right now, the district attorneys are tied to the police, so convictions just don't happen, and there's no accountability. We need real accountability. We need to end broken windows policing as well, and we need to start putting some of the money not into just policing, like in the city of Los Angeles. Half of their budget, half of the city budget is spent on policing. It's really outrageous. If you can take a piece of that policing budget and put it into the schools, into youth programs, into recreational centers, that's where our dollars need to be going, to be creating healthy and safe communities from the outset. And about this epidemic of racism, we need a Truth and Reconciliation Commission. A lot of people think we're in this post-racial world because we had an African-American president, but hardly. We need to really sit down and have a very deep and inclusive conversation about race and bias and prejudice. We need to be able to tell our stories, bring our music, bring our art, and find our common humanity, acknowledge what this crisis of racism is. We also call for reparations, by the way, so that we can restore ourselves to a whole here. because the crisis is unending, and that crisis has consequences. So we call for a Truth and Reconciliation Commission and a reparations process so that we can get on the same page, get this history of slavery and racism behind us, and move forward as one community on one planet.
Tengo dos hijas que están altamente calificadas y han sido discriminadas por ser minoría. ¿Cuál sería su apoyo hacia estas personas que no han podido llegar a donde ellas quisieran?
So the question was, as a mother of two who knows that her daughters have been discriminated against despite the fact that they have very high qualifications, what would be your plan to end discrimination for people like her daughters?
Great. And tell me, is the discrimination in school? Is it in employment?
Everywhere.
Everywhere. Yes.
Everywhere.
Yes.
Because my daughter, she is a cardiology in the woman, and she is very discriminated for that she is a woman, and the other is a PhD doctor in toxicology, and she is very discriminated in the Oxford, Mississippi.
Yes. And this is why I think we need a very deep conversation about prejudice and bias, not only towards African Americans, towards Latinos, towards Muslims, towards the LGBTQ community. We need to come together and address and share our stories. Some people are walking around in a bubble and they think that the world is great for everybody because they are people of privilege. Well, we have a world that is torn apart right now by fear, by hatred, by bias. We are not only a country torn by hate and fear, we are a country that is armed. And this is a very dangerous combination, and we are all in the crossfire of this armed garrison state that we have become. So, for so many reasons, for all of our sake, we have to sit down and begin to know each other and share who we are, our stories, our history, our art, our music, and come together and get past this era of bias. Thank you so much.